Hi there. Hi there. I'm coming to you today from Fort Sumter National Monument in Charleston, South Carolina. That is the museum behind me. You can see the water, the harbor's right here. You can take a ferry boat out to see Fort Sumter. I wanted to comment on a couple of things. I just did this yesterday, this cruise. I want to talk about the incorrect facts. I don't know what else to say that the Park Service rangers gave. As I listened to this, I wonder if it was part of critical race theory. Is the Park Service now implementing some chapters of critical race theory? Because the Rangers said that there were 700,000 people killed when it was really in the 400,000s that died in the war. She also talked about the first shot of the war being April 12th of 1861, when if you read the history, you'll find that on January 9th, soldiers from the Citadel, students, fired on the Star of the West ship that President Buchanan had sent in to reinforce Fort Sumter. And that in December, late December of 1860, without authority, Major Anderson moves from another fort to Fort Sumter. Now, why is Fort Sumter so important? Well, you need to look on a map. Fort Sumter is the fort that stops anything from getting into Charleston Harbor. And in 1830, which they don't talk about at all, the tariff of abominations was passed in America. That tariff was on about 45 to 50% on goods coming in. And a lot of people breathe in free trade and the need to do trade with Europe thought this is impossible. So it was called the tariff of abominations. Fast forward to 1860, and the moral tariff with the same rates is passed. In 1830, South Carolina said a state had the right, we talk about states' rights, to declare an unequal tax null and void. And that's in the Constitution, Section 6. But President Jackson at the time said, baloney. Sorry for this plane, I'm going to give it a second. I don't want it to pass. Boat. President Jackson at that time said, nope, not going to be that way. I will put the blood of your people on the streets of Charleston if you don't collect that tariff. Congress then passed the Force Act, which says they were going to send the U.S. Navy to collect the tariff at sea, to kind of say, buoy to South Carolina, we're still going to collect the tariff. We want that money. That's what runs the country. There was no income tax until 1913. So when the 1860 tariff gets passed, the moral tariff, actually the deal was the railroad, First Transcontinental Railroad, was going to go Los Angeles to New Orleans in the South, help the Southern economy, move goods. Very important to the economy. Well, 1860 platform of President Lincoln, the Republican Party, was nope, it's going to go from San Francisco to Chicago. But we're going to use Southern tax dollars to fund it. South then decided, nope, we're not in for this. You know, last time you said the state didn't have the right not to collect the tariff, and now we don't realize that case won't work anymore, we're just going to succeed. So the Park Service admits telling that part of the story, the 1830 issues of Fort Sumter and the moral tariff. And instead they exaggerate and lie, actually, by saying the first shot was April 12th and the first shot was really January 9th. And then they say that they exaggerate on the number of casualties, but they make it seem like the South did this. And the woman telling the story said that there was one ship coming in that Beauregard freaked out about. And no, there was a whole fleet of ships that Abraham Lincoln had brought in to resupply Fort Sumter to be able to collect that tariff at sea. And they weren't going to let that happen. So these things we need to be careful about. As she also said, which got intrigued me, that Fort Sumter was the only national park built in our country by slaves. Well, recently I traveled to Grant's plantation in St. Louis, Missouri. That national park was built by 17 slaves. And it also leads to deal if the North was fighting this war to end slavery, why didn't they start in the northern states where they already had slaves, like Delaware or Maryland? You know, there were many slave states that they could have started the war there, because it really wasn't about ending slavery. It had issues. Are we going to have the expansion or this and that? But it really was about finance, money, tariffs. And we needed to look at that. And the lady running the program and now the Park Service, when I was in Grant's plantation in St. Louis, nobody there wanted to talk about that either. So now we see the National Park Service trying to lend credence to these critical race theory components that are being taught that are more divisive for America rather than the facts, and that was disappointing. On this street leading here, Calhoun Street, Vice President Calhoun resigned as vice president under Andrew Jackson to become a senator to fight against the moral tariff and these high tariffs. He'll probably be erased because of his history, but at least here when you drive in, you see Calhoun Street. Full history should be taught by the Park Service. Thank you.